But with the writing of The Blood Knot, I discovered my voice as a playwright. I knew that I was going to tell a story that nobody else could tell, and I believed I knew how to tell it. And, when a writer makes that discovery, when you have that moment in the arc of your life, creativity, it's very incredibly important. It's no fun writing a play, they don't come out easily. But, the true gladiator in terms of a play and the public are the actors. They use their own flesh and blood, their own voices, they use their own memories, they use their own souls. And these two certainly put themselves on the line tonight with the performance you saw. I was very proud of it. I think it varies from performance to performance.
Yeah. I think so too. I agree. I feel like there's something about us in the room that we never made that decision.
No,
I know, like we never decided who's the older one, who's the younger one, because Alpha said it changes performance to performance. It feels that way. Like tonight, we were talking like after Act 1, how it felt. It was a different.
Now, be honest with this audience. What did you say to each other at interval? Come on.
I just felt that I was lighter than usual. Usually, I start off a bit, darker, and I started off a bit softer. I thought, and I thought that I was trying to figure out where that was going. But then it was very interesting, his reaction to me as well in the scenes. It was like I felt like I was the younger brother in a way, tonight. And sometimes, like yesterday, like Sunday, I think I felt like the older brother. Like, I was just a bit more, had a bit more, out the gate, you know what I mean? But I paced it in different ways. But,
You sort of vie for the top bunk a little bit.
The audience is not a passive reality for the actor. It certainly is that in a cinema, where, that reel could go on turning and the movie could play to an empty house and nothing would happen. You are absolutely critical in defining the quality of the work that evening. It's as ephemeral as that, because it will change tomorrow night. Tomorrow night there's going to be a random collection of Americans in this theatre again. And they will create actually a different experience. There's no way as an actor you can be indifferent. I mean, within the first 5 or 10 minutes already, the actor is trying to suss out what sort of audience are we dealing with tonight.
Well, I mean, Athol, I think you told me that you've had a good reception in America in particular. And I think that makes sense to me in terms of, our own painful racial history, and for this show we had to learn a lot of things. We had to learn these accents, and we studied some maps and some information about South Africa, but in a fundamental way, these things that are happening in the play aren't impossible to understand. I recognize them, we recognize them, and I think the audience does too.
If you're going to sit down with the intention of writing a universal play, God help the audience. You just can't do that. I mean, imagine Chekhov saying, I can't write this just for the Russians. I've got to, my cherry orchard's got to speak to the whole world. And so, if there's one definition of myself as a writer that I'm very proud of, I've had a lot of labels tied around my big toe, but the one that I appreciate most is my self-created description of myself as a regional writer. This play actually embodies the specifics of one place. I can take you there. I can lead you to that lake. I could lead you to the scab on the hillside, which was Corsten location. And you've got to do that. For myself, there is no other way to work except to take on the very definite specifics of one place, one time, and to tell your story. And well, then you cross your fingers and say, well, it works for me. Maybe it'll work for somebody else as well. You know, there's an act of faith is implicit in any act of creativity. We found the need for the alarm clock, realized that it was a third character. Because, you know, at the time that I wrote this play, it was also a warning to South Africa. One day the alarm is not going to go off. And if that alarm doesn't go off, somebody's dead. That's all.
I think that's a beautiful place to stop. I want to thank Athol and Coleman and Scott, and thank all of you.
Yes, there we are. There we are.
Thanks, guys. That was
That was
great.
good. Great.